Here's my review of Daredevil Season 1, Episode 9, the Season 1 finale, and I'm just going to say it. I really loved it. I think that this show, for the most part, it definitely surpassed my expectations because I was very worried going into this show. I was worried that it was going to be toned down in terms of the violence. I was worried that the characters would not be taken as seriously as they were in the original show. And fortunately, the season as a whole, I think, is good, but I think it is a little bit kind of jumbled because they focused a lot on the Muse plot line, and then they kind of just dropped. They kind of ended it when I was interested in it, and I kind of want to see more of it. And then we're going back and seeing this more, focusing on the main storyline. And what is this episode of basically Fisk finally completely imposing his anti-vigilante task force. And this whole episode basically feels like one giant action like spectacle as well, filled with beautiful emotion. And I loved it. I thought it was great. First of all, it's just so good to finally see Matt and Frank interact again after all these years. I mean, of course, we saw them earlier in the season as well. But it just really just showed, like, this episode, I think, really just imbues how good both of these actors are as these characters. And, of course, how polar opposite they are in their beliefs. And that's what makes them fascinating. There's just so much, I think, like, here that whenever these two characters, when Matt and Frank are in a scene, it's just gold in terms of beautiful dialogue and acting that I was just enthralled. I loved it. And then this part leads to just a great action sequence that was just awesome. When Fisk's anti-vigilante task force basically, they break into Matt Murdock's apartment after Kingpin basically set out a hit on them, and just seeing them just destroy them. And even here, there's filled so much great dialogue and emotion where Punisher, we know, I mean, he has no problem with killing, and Daredevil does not want to do that at all. And just the back and forth between them of, like, especially when Punisher's like, oh, how about this guy? And then just shoots him. Like, when we as the audience know, like, yeah, these are terrible, dirty cops. And it's just fascinating. It's just filled with so much fascinating dialogue. And it feels like within these past 2 to 3 episodes, they finally found their footing. And right after this scene, I think the scene right after this, when they escape, really kind of highlights, although I personally liked this show overall, I think it highlights one of the things that was just missing from this show. And like I said, I really liked, like, the whole action scene, especially with them finally killing that one main dirty cop, and Daredevil just not wanting it to happen. That was great. But just seeing Karen Page return, it just kind of shows you how, yeah, this show was severely lacking Karen and Foggy. And although I love Matt, I think it's really also, they tried to remove so many of the core original characters. And they got rid of Karen, they got rid of Foggy, and the night nurse. And when they tried to replace them, whether it's like with Heather Glenn, of Matt's girlfriend, or Matt's law partner, they're just not as interesting enough characters to justify getting rid of characters that we already loved. And like I said, we know if you know all the behind the scenes drama with this show, of the reshoots and the restructure, I think that for what they had to do, they were able to pull off this finale. I think, and it's a finale that just makes me more excited for season 2. Like I said, just every scene just with Punisher is just great. Like, when he gets captured by these dirty cops, and they basically explain how they basically kind of worship him, and he's like, no, I do not like that, and then he just, like, destroys them. It's just great. Punisher, and I'm so excited to see more Punisher, his special next year. I can't wait. And we get one of the most brutal scenes, like, I think, in the entire MCU, when Kingpin kills the police commissioner. You really just see, like, Kingpin's using his mayoral status as just being a full-blown dictator. He literally just crushes this guy's skull, and this is basically as much as I can show you, because if I show you what happens after this, I don't think this video can even be up here. It's insanely brutal, which is just great to see that Marvel's finally embracing this. And like I said, I think that this episode was filled with a lot of great, beautiful emotion. Like I said, I keep saying like I said every 2 seconds, but just the interactions between Matt and Karen, it just highlights how Karen as a character is just so important, and she never should have not been in this show. Same with Boggy, and it was just a big mistake to take them out, because they're such great characters, and every scene with them in it is just great. I loved it. I thought this episode was just awesome. And these past, once we got to the reshoot episodes, which was this, I think they reshot the pilot, this episode, and then the previous one. Although the pilot, I wasn't super big on the pilot, but these past 2 episodes, you just feel like such a jump in quality from the previous episodes, even though I, for the most part, enjoyed every single episode, just because I like these characters, especially I like Matt Murdock as a character so much. Even if the plot and writing isn't as strong, his character is always strong, that I just am able to enjoy it. But yeah, it just these beautiful interactions is just what makes this show so good. And just seeing Kingpin just as this dictator like mayor, it's just so great to see. I think one of the only main problems I think with this, I don't really say only, but it's a problem with this season, and in particular this episode, but it feels unfinished, because we know that we're getting to season 2, which is filming right now, and I'm very excited for it, especially after seeing season 1. It personally just blew my expectations out of the water. It's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. But it's hard to really talk about my thoughts on the episode overall. I really loved it, but it's unfinished. The story is not over. So it's just where are we kind of going? And I'm excited just to see more of Kingpin, more of his rule of New York. And I'm just excited to see more. And a lot happens in the end of this episode. We're seeing how Matt needs to form a task force to take on Kingpin's anti-vigilante task force. That is going to be a big part of season 2, apparently. And one of the problems, though, is they set up this really... They act like it's so cool when they're like, here are the people that we're working with. And it's Angie Kim, and who's a fun character? I mean, she's a good character, I guess, but it's they set it up as if, it's Angie Kim, and then some of just their other characters who they work with on the law firm. And it's just not really... It feels like they're setting up, oh, look at who we're going to bring back. And it feels like they should have brought back the Defenders, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones. But it's it's all these other characters that are new. And it's well, we don't really... they're not bad characters, but it's I mean, I like Angie, I guess, but it's we barely really know her. The way the scene is set up feels like it should have had a better payoff. They should have said, here's Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and we're rebuilding the Defenders. But no, this anti-vigilante task force, or Matt's rebuttal to that, it's just kind of a bunch of new characters that we're just not particularly interested in. It just felt weird. And then we get a really awesome post-credit scene with Frank being captured. And he breaks out, and the whole breakout scene was just awesome. I really enjoyed it. And we're getting a Punisher special next year, and I'm just very excited to see it. And like I said, overall, this show surprised me. So yeah, if we're just talking about the finale itself, I really liked it. I thought that the action was awesome. I think that the character work was great, especially just between Matt, Karen, and Frank was just all great. And it did what a good show should do, and it makes me even more excited to see season 2, because that's going to be their full vision, where there's going to be, I assume, no reshoots, because they reshot a lot of part of season 1. And yeah, I really enjoyed this season. It was even better than I thought it would be. Yeah, overall, I really liked it. I would give it a 7.5, 8 out of 10. It kind of exceeded my expectations. I have a couple problems with it, but overall, I thoroughly enjoyed the finale and the show as a whole.